on the rest of us, and y'all see I'm still a lowly mayor, and he's Secretary of Transportation. But Mr. Secretary, there's never been a better time than right now to have this happen in the city of Mobile with all that we have going on, the momentum that has been created by the city council and by actually previous mayors, teeing it up to where we are today. Behind you is the downtown district. Behind me is one of the fastest growing ports, certainly the container port in America. This is our convention center, our cruise terminal. But the money that's being spent here is only going to be helped by what rail service between here and New Orleans will bring to help build it all out. So we are very, very excited that you are here to celebrate this with us. And when we think about this site, as I made a comment to the Secretary just a few moments ago, the old L&N Railroad Station was right here. And then this is where we would rode on for the Amtrak between here and New Orleans previously, prior to the damage that occurred during Hurricane Katrina. I'm not sure that any of us ever really thought that we would be back doing this, but we're grateful to be here. And it would not have happened without a lot of partners. I know that we have our partners here from the CSX. Also, they're here from the Southern Rail Commission, so we appreciate y'all being here. And I saw the folks from the Alabama Port Authority. John, thank you for being here. We have several speakers that will join us this morning, that will follow me in my presentation. But first I want to thank Roger Harris. Roger is the president of Amtrak. It's my understanding this is your first time in the city of Mobile. Well, we've been waiting on you a long time. And Administrator Amit Bose, my understanding it's your first time. We've had a lot of Zoom calls, but you look a whole lot better in person, okay? And we're delighted that you are here. Well, I know that y'all are ready to hear what the other speakers have to say, but let me say this. We would not be here today if it were not for our city council. I would ask them to please stand, and let's give them a big round of applause. One thing I know about our Secretary of Transportation is that even as a mayor, it was all about bipartisan efforts. We would not be here today if it was not about a bipartisan effort to be here. And I hope that sits in with everybody, because I don't care what your party is, that we can really do nothing by ourselves. And so it's a tremendous collaborative effort that got us here. And I would say that it's only going to be a collaborative effort, a bipartisan effort, that will continue as we go forward. This time, at this time, I would ask Knox Ross to please come forward and make a few remarks. Knox, isn't it good to be coming to Mobile and you don't have to go to a city council meeting? It's very good.
Thank you. It is good to be in Mobile and not have to go to a city council meeting. I'm sure the city council would agree with me. Thank you so much. It's a good day to be in Mobile. Today marks really the closing of a circle on a promise made to the Gulf Coast and all of us post-Katrina. And this is a day that many of us really never thought would arrive. As the chairman of the Southern Rail Commission, the Mississippi Commissioner, and on behalf of Alabama Commissioner Toby Bennington and Louisiana Commissioner John Spain and the members of the commission, I want to thank President Biden, Senators Wicker, Hyde-Smith, and the late Senator Cochran. Our respective governors and departments of transportation, our legislative leadership, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Administrator, Mr. President, all the big wheels are here. And all the folks at Amtrak for their tireless efforts to make this service a reality. We sincerely thank you. And I want to just take a minute to recognize those that have worked in the trenches for so many years to make this day happen. They're not on the front row, but they're the reason the folks are here on the front row. Here in Mobile, friends such as our Commissioner Stephen McNair, Chairman Wally Blankenship, our former Commissioner Elizabeth Stevens, Stephen Worley, and Brian Funmeyer and the Friends of Mobile Amtrak have done a tremendous job to make this happen. Our friends at CSX, CEO Joe Hendricks, and my friend Jane Covington, we've hit a lot of battles together, and I'm so grateful for y'all doing this, and as well as Mr. John Driscoll, the head of the Port of Mobile. With all of them working together, we were able to finally get this done and make Mobile to New Orleans a first-class freight railroad as well. In Mississippi, our city mayors, past and present, our Department of Transportation leadership, and our legislative leadership has been critical. At Amtrak, not only all of you, but we have worked hard for probably 14 years with Mark Magliari and Todd Stennis, and they've been our champions at our side all the way through. And we are so grateful to them and everybody at Amtrak, Paul Mitchell and all of you who have made this happen. Our policy advisors at Transportation for America, including John Robert Smith, they led developing the key legislation that President Biden signed to make this happen, and we really appreciate Transportation for America. But finally, I want to recognize three ladies from Bay St. Louis, my fellow Commissioner Kay Kell, Nikki Moon, and Wendy McDonald. They never gave up on this. And the reason the train is here today is because of the efforts they did 14 years ago to make this first run on the inspection train a success. And we are so indebted to those three ladies for not giving up. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but thank you all. There's so many people here who have made such a contribution to this and haven't given up on us. Sarah Clark with FRA, there's so many others. And I'm so thankful and we're so grateful on behalf of Southern Rail Commission and our three states. You know, this closes this circle. This was kind of the last thing that hadn't come back from Katrina. And it reconnects our coastal cities to each other and opens our beautiful Gulf Coast to the nation. It's just like President Roger Harris said of Amtrak. He said, I didn't know this was here. Well, this train is going to show people that this is here. And it's ready for everybody. So all we really have to say is, y'all aboard. I want to turn the dice over to my friend, Federal Railroad Administrator Meet Bose. I don't know that that's accurate, Mayor, that he's been to Mobile before. He came in 2016 on the inspection train. So he's been here. He knows. And he always knew. He has been our partner. I won't tell y'all what a great administrator and a friend and an ally that he has been to make this happen. A lot of this work was on his shoulders, very quietly, that he would make sure things are done. He would say, Knox, you got to get this done. You got to hire these people. You got to do this. And he would make sure it was done. And we are so indebted to me and his staff for making this happen. So I would invite you to come up. But welcome him. He's a big part of this.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to be here in Mobile to celebrate this great occasion with you. After all, we have one of the nation's biggest rail supporters with us here today, also Secretary Buttigieg, who will talk more about this exciting project and all the work underway here in Alabama. I know the Secretary remembers his confirmation hearing on January 21st, 2021. The first question he got from Ranking Member Wicker, from Senator Wicker, was about restoring Gulf Coast service. The first question I got at my confirmation hearing before Ranking Member Wicker was about restoring Gulf Coast service. So it was etched in our minds the importance of this project. I want to celebrate all the good work that has happened. Thank you, Mayor Stimson, Southern Rail Commission Chair Knox Ross, and Amtrak President Roger Harris. Also want to thank the states of Louisiana and Mississippi, along with the Federal Railroad Administration and Amtrak staff. Thanks to all the senators and House members from across the region who supported the bipartisan infrastructure law. We wouldn't be here celebrating today if it weren't for that law. In 2020, before the Biden-Harris administration took office and amid a pandemic, passenger rail funding at the federal level was a question mark. Essential projects were left withering and service was suspended. Today, passenger rail travel across America is approaching, in some cases surpassing pre-pandemic ridership numbers. For the first time in generations, the federal government is funding significant long-term projects to meet this demand and provide Americans with the world-class passenger rail service they demand and they deserve. We're not only talking about passenger rail expansion, we're seeing progress firsthand. Today's groundbreaking is yet another example. I want to acknowledge this progress is not achieved alone. It takes strong partnerships like the one demonstrated between the states of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, as well as the City of Mobile, the Southern Rail Commission, Amtrak, and of course the host railroads, CSX, Norfolk Southern, as well as the Port of Alabama. I very much want to acknowledge the role of labor and all the hardworking Americans who will build, operate, and maintain rail infrastructure in this region. Service delayed is service denied. FRA is immensely proud to support the Gulf Coast Corridor Improvement Project and our work to expand passenger rail to even more communities in this region and beyond. This project is one of a nearly 170 rail projects that received FRA grants across the country, thanks to the funding in the President's bipartisan infrastructure law. So far this year, FRA has now made available more than $6 billion in additional infrastructure law funding across multiple grant programs. In the very near future, we're going to announce more than $2 billion in grants through our Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Program, the same program that's funding today's project. After a half century of federal underinvestment in rail, historic investments are flowing in communities like Mobile and others in every region of the country. Major rail projects are progressing, which is good news for the traveling public, for the towns and cities being connected, for the workers, for the environment, and for our economy. FRA looks forward to our continued work in this region with all the partners here today. Today is undoubtedly a big step forward for this project and further evidence for us all that a new era in rail in America is on the way. Now, I want to recognize a big part of that new era of rail, which is Amtrak. Amtrak is undoubtedly in the midst of a transformation. They are rising to the occasion to meet the moment, to provide the services that all of us are expecting Amtrak to deliver. And I want to give a special thanks to President Harris and his team for all the hard work that they've been doing to make today possible and to deliver this important service for us all. Roger.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everybody. The sun is kind of strong. And thank you, Amit, for the introduction, and thank you, U.S. DOT Secretary Pete Buttigieg and Mayor Sandy Stimson for inviting us here today, and for your ongoing support. On behalf of the Amtrak Board of Directors, Chairman Tony Kosha, CEO Stephen Gardner, I am delighted to join you today. I bring you greetings from the more than 23,000 Amtrak employees, some of whom are here today with us, who operate our services, take care of our customers, maintain our trains, and who will lead us to achieve a doubling of ridership by the year 2040. We will soon realize our results. We will soon release our results for the fiscal year, which ended last month. It's no secret we are outperforming our pre-COVID results, and you'll see that when the numbers are released. we are setting all-time records, not only in ridership, but in revenue. But to make our goal of doubling ridership by 2040, we need more Amtrak trains in more places with more frequencies. That's one of the reasons why we've worked so hard with the Southern Rail Commission, the Federal Railroad Administration, state and federal leaders to bring Amtrak service back to the Gulf Coast, which has been underserved for so long. When Amtrak service was here before Katrina, we passed through less than daily. That's not enough for a growing population. Next year, with funding coming from Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana, including the city of Mobile contributing on behalf of Alabama, our Amtrak Gulf Coast service will once again become a reality. This would not have been possible without also receiving federal support from the Biden-Harris administration and passage by Congress of the bipartisan infrastructure law, part of the biggest investment in Amtrak's history. The Gulf Coast will be 2025's model for new Amtrak service. We hope to see this train exceed expectations, just as our new Borealis service between the Twin Cities, Wisconsin, and Chicago has. In the first 5 months of operation, the train has already carried over 100,000 customers, far exceeding all expectations. So what is the latest here? In a few minutes, we will officially kick off construction on the Mobile Station platform project, where Amtrak and CSX Transportation will be constructing a new platform and station track. I want to thank Mayor Stimson and the Mobile City Council for their unanimous approval of agreements required to start this project and the backing of the Port of Mobile. This new service will once again connect Mobile and the Mississippi Gulf Coast to the Amtrak network. For the first time in almost 20 years, passengers will board our trains here and be able to travel to more than 500 Amtrak destinations across 46 states and 3 provinces in Canada. Once the platform is complete, we will start service. And that's not all. Thanks to a $178 million grant from the FRA and $45 million in partner matching funds from Amtrak, CSX, Norfolk Southern, the states of Mississippi and Louisiana, the city of Mobile, we're going to keep working to improve the Gulf Coast corridor, building more capacity and reliability improvements for Amtrak and for freight. When you add together the Mobile Station project and other Gulf Coast corridor improvements, we're investing over $238 million in this corridor, $70 million of which is being put into projects right here in Mobile. After we snap a few pictures, please tour a couple of the rail cars we'll initially be using here on the Gulf Coast. Please also meet some of our team who are as ready as you are to hear us say, "Y'all aboard." Veteran Amtrak conductor John Morgan is one of these excited team members who transferred from Illinois to operate our new Gulf Coast service, and who represents the dozens of Amtrak jobs directly tied to this service, both here and in the city of New Orleans. Thank you for being with us here on this historic day. Now I'll turn this over to Amtrak conductor John Morgan.
What a great day. It's great to see so much support for Amtrak, and I'm happy to be here today. I've been waiting a long time for this day, and I know my wife has too. She's from this area, and when they ran that inspection train in 2016, you can bet that I heard that we were going to be taking advantage of every opportunity to come to the Gulf Coast when it opened. So I appreciate everyone's hard work in getting us to this point. There's a number of people, as you've heard today, that have made this success possible. Many individuals that are leading from the front, and many of us that work behind the scenes, and we're all very excited about welcoming our first passengers to the train and seeing the experience that you can have here in transforming the Gulf Coast with other transportation options. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor and a pleasure to be asked to introduce our next guest speaker. I'm not sure that he needs an introduction. He appears to be very popular with his stance on railroads and the need for passenger rail service, and I know he's very popular with us here at Amtrak. And we thank you for that. I'm only one of 17 employees here in the Mobile area, and I want to say this before I turn it over to Mayor Pete. All of us are looking forward to welcoming all of you to the train, and it takes the whole community and the Gulf Coast area to make this a success. So we appreciate everyone's support here. Our Secretary of Transportation has been a big supporter of rail projects, if you have heard. He's also been a public servant for a number of years, serving as the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, also serving in the United States Navy Reserve as an officer. And we appreciate all that he's done making our country's infrastructure that much better for all of us. So please help me give a warm Gulf Coast welcome to our Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Pete Buttigieg.
Out here more often. You really know how to make somebody feel welcome. Thank you so much, Mobile, for this warm welcome. Thank you, John, to you and all of the thousands of Amtrak employees who do such extraordinary work on America's rails, whether it's those who engage with passengers every day like you, or those who are behind the scenes making sure that these trains are safe and reliable. We're so appreciative and so excited about what this means for you and your colleagues. And thanks for the introduction, too. I want to acknowledge my colleague, Amit Bose, and the entire FRA team who worked so hard on this, the local and state leadership, the leadership of Governor Kay Ivey, Commission Chair Rose, thank you, and to your fellow commissioners for joining us. Roger Harris, to you and the Amtrak leadership team and board. Likewise, I want to acknowledge the role of the workers who were such an important part of this. I'm glad to be joined by Smart Local 622 President Jackson here, and all of those who are going to be part of the good work of making this a reality. We're excited about the good paying jobs and the many good paying union jobs that we're creating. I want to acknowledge the partnership of CSX, represented by Jane Covington, and everybody who has been part of making sure that that private-public partnership has worked. And I want to join in thanking and acknowledging the Mobile City Council for the work that you did to make this possible, along with all of the local officials. And Mayor, thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you for your commitment to making this a reality. As the mayor said, we knew each other as fellow mayors, and I always reflect when I'm with a mayor who I served with back in my mayor days that the job has only become more difficult and demanding since I proudly wore the title. But I also often reflect that it sure would have been nice back when I was mayor of my hometown if we had $1 trillion infrastructure bill going on. So hopefully you feel that that is a wind in your back coming from Washington, D.C. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, I want to acknowledge the leadership of our President, Joe Biden, and our Vice President. When President Biden called to invite me to take this job that it's been my great honor to do now for the last 4 years or so, I told him I'm pretty sure I could only ever hope to be the second biggest passenger rail enthusiast in this administration. But I've aimed for it not to be too distant of a second, because really throughout this administration, I think throughout the country, we believe in the potential of passenger rail to drive opportunity and to better connect this country, as it did ever since before the days when Abraham Lincoln presided over linking the east and west coast through that transcontinental railroad that truly made the United States a singular and not a plural noun. It's also great to be back in Alabama. I was here in April celebrating work that's going on to modernize and revitalize a stretch of 4th Avenue up in Birmingham, a project that we believe in deeply. That was a project that was a long time coming, about 20 years in the making, with local leaders led by the U.S. Congresswoman Terry Sewell and Mayor Randall Woodfin, and so many others. And they were advocating for those improvements to Birmingham's historic Black Main Street so that community members and small businesses there can thrive again. Across the country over the last 4 years, I have seen project after project, vision after vision that was desired and needed for years and for even decades, but that faced too many obstacles to get done, and seen those finally get done. And folks who care about the vision of restoring Gulf Coast Rail know a little something about that. 2005 was the last time a passenger train traveled through Mobile when service was suspended because of Hurricane Katrina. But the public support, I would say the public demand to restore this train line has mounted ever since. And now, at last, it is happening. It has taken a lot of lifting and pushing and funding and partnership across state lines, across party lines, across the public-private line in order to make this happen. But now we are here celebrating the work that's going to reconnect Mobile to a larger passenger rail network, supporting these communities with those high-impact investments and long-term upgrades that they deserve. So it is my great pleasure, on behalf of the Biden-Harris administration and the entire U.S. Department of Transportation, to join you and congratulate you to officially mark the groundbreaking of the restoration of the Gulf Coast Rail Line. Celebrate today, and look, this is a vision that's been desired across multiple administrations in Washington. Now that it's finally happening under the leadership of Vice President Harris and President Biden, and of course possible because of the historic funding that came by way of the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I want to give a nod to Senator Wicker from next door in Mississippi, who played such an important role in getting that bill done, who started talking about Gulf Coast Rail from the moment I had my very first telephone call with him, and as Amit mentioned, in our congressional hearings as well. And with that infrastructure package came the means to award over $178 million to get this project over the finish line. Thanks to that collaboration and coordination with Congress, with Amtrak, with the Southern Rail Commission, with CSX and Mobile City Council, and Mayor Stimson, we are ready to get Gulf Coast Rail rolling once again. What does that look like? Well, we're going to upgrade tracks and signals to help minimize delays. Station improvements will provide a comfortable place for passengers to wait while shielding them from the elements. New grade crossings will make it safer for vehicles to cross where roads intersect with those train tracks. And of course, most exciting for all, there will soon be 2 new round trips a day running between Mobile and New Orleans. Once this project is complete, once that Gulf Coast rail line is back up and running, those twice daily round trips will mean a reliable, efficient, affordable way to travel for people here in Alabama, in Mississippi, and in Louisiana. And we know the potential for economic development that this will bring, something we've seen demonstrated time and again along passenger rail lines around the U.S. and around the world. Developers see the value in creating new housing and commercial options in places served by the rail line, which drives a virtuous cycle of economic growth and opportunity. You've already got a lot of economic growth and opportunity to be proud of here in Mobile. I saw estimates that about 6,000 jobs are expected to be created here over the next 5 years. This is great news for workers and families here in Mobile. Once that train is connecting cities along the Gulf Coast, workers in those cities will have an opportunity to commute to work by rail and be part of this job growth, and even more jobs will develop right here because of that increase in the ability of people to access this region. So today, nearly 20 years after Hurricane Katrina brought such devastating impact to this region, a new era of passenger rail is at hand. It shows the resilience and strength of communities along the Gulf Coast, ensuring that no matter how long it takes, you never gave up, working piece by piece to rebuild and ensure that what you build is even better than what was here before. And it's something we're all thinking about, of course, in the wake of the most recent storms to affect American communities, something that's fresh on my mind after visiting western North Carolina and Tennessee last week to see the impacts of Hurricane Helene. And this project is part of a bigger wave of improvements and investments benefiting this region. This comes not so long after the announcement of the Mobile River Bridge and the Bayway project. $550 million to help make I-10 safer and more reliable and more resilient. We believe that might be the biggest federal transportation grant ever to come to the state of Alabama, and we're proud that it happened on our watch. And that's one of many. As I mentioned, we've got that project up in Birmingham that we're so pleased with, up in Decatur, helping to reconnect Old Town to the stores and shops along the riverfront. In Pelham, building a bridge so the drivers and pedestrians and, very importantly, emergency vehicles can safely and efficiently get across a rail line. And in West Montgomery, connecting residents to the Selma to Montgomery Trail. These projects are among the 63,000 and counting that are moving forward thanks to that infrastructure package. And each one of those projects has two things in common. First of all, none of them were invented at the U.S. Department of Headquarters, Transportation Headquarters in Washington, D.C. All of them came from a community, a state, a railroad, an airport, trying to be better, and we're there to help make sure the funding comes. And secondly, all of these projects, every single one of them is an investment in our way of life, in our economy, in our future. And you have my commitment that there is more good work where this came from. So again, congratulations on everything you have done to bring the community to this important milestone. Thank you for welcoming me here today. And please make sure to save me a seat when that first train starts to roll. So I think the first time I found myself professionally holding a shovel, it was as a lieutenant who was voluntold for sandbag duty at Bagram Airfield. I think this is going to be considerably easier than that, but likewise we will have some directions to follow for everybody who's part of that. I'll meet you over there and look forward to doing the honors. Thanks again for the pleasure of joining you today.
You think I want that? I'm not gonna worry about it. Yeah, can you get my camera? Yeah, thanks. I'm not gonna stream this part.
Yeah.